Ladies and gentlemen, you can hear me. That is now a good start. Beautiful. Welcome along to season number one of the way that it's named now, the SKG Racing Series. My name is Joseph Black. I'll be taking you through the action for the qualifier night that we have on our screens this evening. And without further ado, we've got our first qualifying lobby open, and so we're ready to get ourselves underway. And so I'm going to, just before we start, I'm going to be annoying, and I'm going to take us over to a track map. Now, this is the circuit we'll be taking for the drivers. Of course, no overtaking points to talk about. There'll be 14 corners, although overtaking points might be relevant later on because of all the passing of the drivers ahead you might have to do. But 381 kilometres, 2.738 miles, 14 turns, 1 DRS zone, and then a little short one afterwards. So it's a double dose of DRS that the drivers will be getting. And then it's all tight, it's all technical. It's Hungary, ladies and gentlemen. It is Budapest. And without further ado, we're going to get into the first lobby of the evening. And, well, we've got 6 drivers who'll be taking to the lobby to start off with. ONB, RSC, and Thomas Enger Sim Racing will be the first drivers, the first teams to get a lap time on the board. And, well, it'll be Christoph and Pascal Gill for ONB. It'll be Wojtek Steg and Daniel Koyer for Thomas Enger Sim Racing. And then it'll be Tyus Korsman and Campbell Adams for RSC. Of course, we have the best lineup we've ever had in the SKG Racing Series, as it is now. And, well, we shall see how it all goes. We'll see how it all transpires across the course of this evening. I'm going to see if my timing tower is working. It's not, so we're going to work off what it says on our screens right now. So we're not going to be able to get the exact sectors up because I've honestly forgotten how everything works. But either way, we're going to be jumping straight into it. You can't hear the game. I'm going to try and fix that one as well. But we do have drivers out on circuit ready to get going, and they are getting going right now. There we go. Should be better. It's a bit too loud. A little bit down. Perfect. But here we are, ladies and gents, and we have Christoph, who will be the first driver to take us onto a lap. Bit of a slide out of the first corner, so it's not quite going to be the perfect lap from the Red Bull driver, of course, representing Anibi Esports, which is one of the 3 teams in this lobby. So we've got Anibi Esports, of course, as I say, they're in the Red Bull car, and then you've got Wojtek Steg and Daniel Koyer, both in the Aston Martin, and then you have Tyus Korsman and Campbell Adams. Adams, who hasn't come out of the pit lane yet. Christoph is invalidated, so we'll go to the next car on the circuit. It'll be Wojtek Steg in the Aston Martin, in the Thomas Enger Sim Racing car. We've got a number of teams racing this evening, and it's going to be a very exciting night, to be fair, because we have so many different qualifiers to speak about. And, well, we've got 3 different lobbies. This is the smallest one, and we will be having 3 in this lobby, we'll be having 4 in the next, and 4 afterwards. Wojtek Steg has invalidated, as well as Pascal Gill, the first driver to set a time on the board, and it'll be a 1:14.917. It'll be RSC, Thomas Enger Sim Racing, and Anibi Esports. I believe it stands for Race Speed Championship, actually, RSC, but they're down as RSC, and then Anibi Esports team, the final ones, and then at 8 o'clock we'll have Ventura Esports, FST Esports, International Racing Team, and ET8 Esports before we finish off this evening's action with Tatum Restech, Forza Club Touring F1, Bravo Racing Club, and Ultimate Formula Racing Team. Daniel Koyer has set a 1:14.5 on the lap time on the board, and he is pretty much exactly splitting Tyus Korsman and Pascal Gill. Campbell Adams is on his outlap, and he'll be going for his first run in the RSC Cup. It's a good start from the team, but it is a huge step up from where they were last season, the SKG Extreme Series, which is, of course, what it was called before. It's a big step up for them, and yeah, SKG not competing because they'd win top 10 respect moments for real. But we'll watch on with Campbell Adams as he heads through the first sector and heads through the rest of the lap as well, and we'll see what a lap of the Hungaroring looks like. I'm going to turn the game a bit more down because it is still a little bit too loud. Heading down towards turn number 1 for Campbell Adams. Please tell me, by the way, if there's any audio issues, if there is anything like that. Campbell Adams is going to have a double turn into the first corner, and then on the exit, he's just going to try and put the power down for the second DRS zone of the circuit. Of course, it doesn't really matter at the moment, but it is a double dose of DRS for the drivers, so that can really benefit them after the first 3 corners. He's headed through, and then turn number 4 is a tricky one. You have to be on the curbing, throw yourself into the curbing, and then get out of the curbing. It's a 26.613 for Campbell Adams in the first sector, and heading through turn 5, then down towards turn 6, then the chicane of turn 6 and turn 7. Not the only 6 and 7 chicane on the calendar, but of course, We will be talking about the calendar later. Campbell Adams heading through turns number 8 and 9 again to keep the minimum speed up. That's the most crucial part of this one. And then just again, you barely have to lift, let alone brake through some of these corners. Next braking zone, 52.661 for Campbell Adams in the first 2 sectors, and in the third one, well, he's going to try and improve on that. Christoph and Wojtek Steg back out of the pit lane. They're the only drivers with that time so far, apart from Campbell, who's managed to keep it clean despite crossing the pit exit line there, or the pit entry line even, because that'll be the entry of it. Now down to the line, Campbell Adams, fastest of all, 114.088. Which is a good lap time from himself. He'll be 0.3 or 0.2 and some change ahead of Tyres Korsman. I can't find my laptop, ladies and gents. I don't know why I can't do that, but that was going to have the times on for myself to reference that I was going to put that in, but I have no idea where it is, so I will be finding that in between the lobbies. Anyway, we have more drivers out on circuit, more drivers ready to go, and Wojtek Steg passed his teammate into turn number 4, then turn 5, the sweeping hairpin, which is going to be a difficult one to find time, but that is where you need to find the time on this circuit. Then 6 and 7 is going to be the chicane. Really, really difficult, but it can be an overtaking opportunity if you try hard enough to create that indeed. We are, I believe, on Sunset. It is quite a nice looking circuit, all things considered, but yeah, I really like Sunset on this game. It's so underrated. But yeah, Wojtek Steg heading through the final sector. He's got a Red Bull in his way. They're going to try and get out of it. Indeed, they do. That's going to be the OMB car. One of the Alpines goes around. That looks like Tyres Korsman has gone around at the penultimate corner. And then Wojtek Steg putting the power down out of the exit. And it'll be a 14.619 as a banker. Tyres Korsman has left the session. Oh dear. We'll see if we can get him back in as soon as we possibly can. But for now, it'll be the last few times. The last driver who hasn't set a time on the board yet, Christoph, will be setting a lap time that will put him in 4th place. So OMB not in a great position so far, but a lot of room to improve. He's going to spin around and he's going to drive back into the pit lane backwards. Is he? No, he's going back forwards again. Not quite sure what he's doing, but he's going to try and get going again. He does so with relative success. Daniel Coyer improving in the first sector, but not by much. And he's going to try and throw that car through the next couple of corners, throw that car through the next sector, and he's going to throw himself right up to the very top of this field, you would imagine, because, of course, Thomas Enger Sim Racing come in with a huge reputation, a bigger reputation than RSC. Wojtek Steg is retired. Why is Wojtek Steg retired from the session? Not sure, but hopefully that's not going to be a big problem for the Aston Martin. I think he's just going to have to go again, to be honest. But of course, that's not my choice. But yeah, we'll see. Are we restarting? Yes. Okay. We are restarting. So that confused me briefly. But we will be restarting. These drivers have got a bit of a warm-up, so they should be right down to it in this session at the very least. But yeah, the times are, I believe, irrelevant. We're restarting because it was on Sunset. We're restarting because it was on Sunset. Unfortunate. But it is what it is. That's what can happen. We do have a Hungarian driver in this grid. Didn't realise Christoph was Hungarian, but yeah, we can go back to me, my beautiful face, just for a little bit, of course. Hi. My teeth are too yellow. Anyway, don't look at my teeth, everybody. I know you are. We're going to be restarting as soon as we possibly can. Then we'll be going to the restart of that lobby. But in the meantime, we can have a little bit of a conversation about the calendar now. The calendar is, and I'm going to try and get it up while I'm talking about it, but the calendar is a very interesting one, all things considered. You don't necessarily see calendars like what we have very often, but it's always good to get new circuits on there. And well, There's a couple of circuits that we don't really see anywhere else. I don't remember the last time I saw Monza in a league race. Now, I don't think I've remembered. I don't think I remember Monza in a team event ever being raced, at least on F1 25. Prove me wrong. Absolutely prove me wrong. But I believe that is that is true, I believe. But hey, who knows? Yeah. I'm just yapping, man. Because we are getting the lobby restart, of course, it's a little bit of a dull moment while we are just getting that one underway. There we go. I've got the calendar up. Like nothing ever happened. We have Hungary, of course, for the qualifiers, which is not going to be one of the races that we are going to be competing. It'll be Qatar for round 1 on the 6th of March, so next week. So make sure you keep an eye out for that one. Las Vegas will be round number 2. So we've got a couple of night races in a row. Of course, we've had a sunset qualifier, but we're going to be going back to normal timing now. Qatar and Las Vegas in the night, and then we'll be heading to Texas for a day race, and well, 2 American races in a row. Then we'll be heading to Austria, the shortest lap on the calendar before Mexico. The highest lap on the calendar will be round number 5. Belgium for round number 6. So it's an interesting first half of the season where we visit Asia just the once with our first round of the season, and then we've got 3 different Americas races, if you can call them that, with Mexico, Texas, and Las Vegas, and then 2 European races, Austria and Belgium. Austria and Belgium, 2 very different challenges. Personally, I would have Austria and Belgium together, just because you have a really short lap that will be all about cornering speed and keeping that minimum speed up, to Belgium, which is all about keeping that speed in a straight line up. But hey, I mean, I'm not the one deciding the calendar. Maybe it's good to have a short one, then a medium one, and then a long one as well. But Mexico, all about that straight line speed. And then the final sector is absolutely crucial. Yes, they were bankers, by the way. We only got a couple of minutes into the session before the drivers started moaning, and before we retired from it. And we're just about to get going once again. But yeah, interesting first half of the calendar, and then the second half will be China, Britain, Spain, Monza, Brazil, and Abu Dhabi, so spending the majority of the time in Europe this time with 4 out of the 6 races. Of course, Spain marks if its home race will be very good. We can't have an SKG home race because SKG is a great team, but I mean, they're not racing anyway. Doesn't really matter. China, straight. I compare it to Mexico. Again, it's another one that I haven't seen often. The first half of the season, we see loads. We see all the time. I believe we even saw Austria as recently as this week in PSGL, but that'll be round number 4 of the season. China round number 7. Britain will be round number 8. Of course, the home race for the majority of people who are invested in the community, I believe. I don't have the stats on that, but the majority of the people I communicate with seem to be British. I think it might just be a commentary bias thing, because most of the commentators are British. There's a couple of Dutch ones, but the majority of them are, of course, British. Then Spain round number 9. The testing bed for a lot, and I mean, it's a very good circuit. Lots of places will use that for qualifiers as well, but I like that we've used Hungary. It's tight, it's twisty, it's technical, it really tests the drivers, and it's also a pretty short lap time. We saw the fastest time of the first part of the session was Campbell Adams with a 1:14.0, and well, of course, now that time is invalid, it's pointless, but hey, that's not the point. And then Monza, straight line speed once again. So there's a few tracks on this where they really favours straight line speed. Brazil, complete opposite. Abu Dhabi, complete opposite. You got that one straight at Abu Dhabi. You got that one straight heading down towards the Cida de Lago in Brazil. But the majority of it is going to be all about the cornering speed. Abu Dhabi Sector 3 especially. A very interesting calendar. Let me know what you think we've missed out on, by the way, because I think there's a couple of tracks that could be featured but are not at the moment featured on that calendar and won't be across the course of the season, of course, because the calendar has already been decided, unless there's bumps or anything like that, like there was at Bahrain. I know there was one at Qatar. I don't know if we have removed... If they have removed it, I'll be perfectly honest with you, because everyone's avoided it like the plague, but I'm sure it'll be fine. We do have drivers back out on circuit. We are ready to get going again, so without further ado, we're going to take you trackside, and we're going to take you to the first lap of this new qualifying session, and it is day, ladies and gentlemen. We waited so long that we are back to daytime here at the Hungaroring. Magyar Nagadic, if you get that reference. I'm so old, because that was like 10 years ago now. But yeah, that's exactly what we've got. for ourselves to get ready to go racing. Daniel Coyer throwing the car through. We've got 16 minutes of a session to go. And at the moment, of course, nothing on the board. I think it's personally quite interesting that SKG haven't entered their own team. But hey. It is what it is. Yeah, we shall see what will happen with these drivers at some point in this session. Of course, the first lap times on the board aren't going to matter all too much, but later on is where it really starts to ramp up, and we really start to see a lot of closer lap times. Daniel Coyer will be the first one to set a time, as he's been valid throughout the entire lap. Excuse me. Throughout the entire lap, and it'll be a 14.448 for himself. Be interesting to see how those preparations have changed based on the fact that they've already had a kind of warm-up lap. Wojtek Steg 14.343 for the Aston Martin, and makes it a Thomas Enger Sim Racing 1-2. Campbell Adams' banker wasn't quite as good as his last one. He gets a 14.608. This looks like a slower session as Tyres Korsman goes up to the top with a 14.165. But this looks like a slower session on average, but Korsman completely goes to prove me wrong. The Alpine at number 70, right up to the very top. Hello to everybody in the chat, by the way. Welcome along to this evening's action. I know you've got a keen eye, and I know we're all having a look at what is, at the moment, the smallest of the qualifying sessions. We've got 3 teams here, 4 teams, and then 4 teams in the session today. But, yeah, Tyres Korsman, quickest of all, and, well, there's going to be a lot of maths to do this evening, and it's not going to be done by me. I am going to do the maths, but the official maths is going to be done by the people behind the scenes at SKG, so we very much appreciate their help, and of course making sure that everything goes on, because without them we would not be able to do anything. We wouldn't even be able to bring you this broadcast without our partners at Driveline Media. Of course, I am a member of Driveline Media, but yeah, we will see the drivers into the pit lane at the end of their first sessions. Where is Christoph going? He missed the pit lane. Christoph missed the pit lane, but he's going back in now. And he will be continuing on his session, his slowest of all so far. But, well, it's going to be very high expectations this evening. It's really going to be high expectations because everybody is going to be so very quick. And so the likes of ONB are going to have to try and find their way to the top. We'll see. Lobby 2 is going to start when this one ends, by the way. Just to let you know. So, yeah. Trying to pick up the information if and when I get it about all of the lobbies and about everything that's been going on today. But yeah, we'll find out. As I say, we've got 6 drivers in this lobby. It is the smallest one, but nobody really wants to be at the top. At the top of the show, right at the very start of the broadcast, because you don't know what everybody else is going to be capable of. So it's just going to be all about trying to manage yourselves throughout the course of it, and just trying to set the fastest lap time. Later on, they can be a bit tactical about it. They can go, maybe we don't push 100%. Maybe we only need a 14.1, and we're capable of doing a 13.9, for example. Yeah, who knows? I think I think this is probably the strongest lobby, despite the fact it's the smallest lobby. Although lobby 2 looks pretty strong as well. Lobby 3 has a couple of interesting names. I want to see who will be driving for them later. But yeah, RSC, Thomas Enger Sim Racing, and Anibi Esports, I think on average, very strong as outfits. Of course, Race Speed Championship Esports. They've come up through the ranks over the last couple of The last couple of, I think they really started to become a thing in this game cycle. I think Campbell Adams was a big statement signing for the outfit. And then ever since then, they've just been able to back it up. Of course, Tyres Korsman, very, very big signing as well. So they've got numbers now. They've got drivers who come through. There's another team that we'll go on to later as well. So it's them. There's another team that have really thrown their way into contention in the community this year. And then OMB a little bit off the back of this group. So they've always been, in my experience at least, they've always been just about, not quite within the top sort of 10 teams in the community. They've been just outside. And so it'll be really good if they are able to find their way inside the top 10 of the SKG Racing Series, because it's always a feel-good story whenever an EB make it there, because they always seem to be the underdogs. So at the moment, I'm banking on them to be 5th and 6th. I'm not banking on it, but I'm feeling as though they're going to be 5th and 6th, and RSC and Thomas Enger Sim Racing are going to get 1 and 2. But I'd like it if they surprised me and they were able to set a good time. Campbell Adams around the final corner. This will be his second time on the board, and it'll be a 1 minute 13. No, just about outside 1 minute 14.171. But we're going to get closer to those times. Daniel Koya going to be into the up to the line. It'll be a 14.218, so it's good enough for 4th place for himself. His teammate Wojtek Steg only found 100th in the first 2 sectors. Through the 3rd sector, then he is going to try and establish himself up at the top. At the moment, he's only improved by 100th of a second. It wouldn't improve positions, but it would take him a little bit further away from ONB. But no, still not much of an improvement to speak about. Tyres Korsman goes even quicker, a 14.010. Pascal Gill is invalidated, but in good news, he's not missed the pit lane this time, as the ONB driver into the pit lane, and will be trying to improve on his 14.7. What can Christoph do? It's a 14.5, so still off the back of the 2 Thomas Enger Sim Racing cars, the 2 Race Speed Championship cars, and ONB still with a little bit of work to do. Of course, their only marker so far is going to be the top 2 teams in the lobby. Of course, they find themselves in 3rd place, but it is the 2 RSC drivers at the top. It's the 2 Thomas Enger Sim Racing drivers in 2nd and 3rd, or 3rd and 4th even. It'll be Christoph and Pascal Gill who find themselves in 5th and 6th. But I think there's a bit more time to extract for ONB. I think there's even more time to extract for Thomas Enger Sim Racing, because I don't think this is their peak performance just yet. But they need to see themselves right in to the mixture. I think they have an opportunity to get right into the mixture. And it's going to be all about just whether they can hook up the lap. That's really what this is about. It's whether you can hook up the final lap. I love qualifiers nights, but you have to admit, it is all about ignoring these first couple of laps. We may as well not do at least the first runs in this session in terms of broadcasting it, but then it'll be the 3rd lap that is really, really important. Demaiko's joined the session. Right. So I'm assuming that'll be for FST and Lobby 2. So I'm assuming we're going to stay in the same lobby for all of them, but just make sure that we've got the right drives in at the right times. Pascal Gill back out on the circuit. Or maybe Demaiko is just a little bit miscommunicated too, because of course we took a while to get going in this one, because we had the late night racing, the sunset racing at Hungary, or the sunset qualifying even at Hungary. So maybe he's just assuming that this is already lobby 2 and he's just going to be a little bit late. 7 minutes 19. There we go. There goes Demaiko out of the session. He's clearly had someone having some words with him, and out of the session goes Demaiko. And we are back to these 6 drivers, and well, we'll see. We'll see what these drivers are going to be capable of as they head to the end of this session. By the way, just received news that Lobby 2 will start at 8:15 p.m, so it won't be straight away after this one. We're going to have roughly 7 minutes of rest between the 2. I mean, rest, your viewers. Not to be mean, you're not doing much at the moment. No, you're our wonderful viewers that we, of course, very much appreciate. But yeah, we're going to head up to the next lap of the session. Pascal Gill, who's going to be a little bit off of everybody else, of course, because he invalidated, so he's been able to fit another lap in, and he will see what he can do. As I believe the ads tonight are on increased. I haven't touched it, but it just appears to be the case, because my little preview of it has stopped a number of times, or everybody out, in fact, out on the circuit. Pascal Gill a little bit earlier on, so I think he's going to come in after this lap and just do a bit more waiting in the pit lane to try and be in sync with everybody else once again. But yeah, the information is that Lobby 2 will start at 8:15 p.m. Lobby 3 will start at 8:45, so it's half an hour allotted to each one of those those sessions, and this one will be finishing very, very shortly. We've got 6 minutes left to go, so we'll have about 9 minutes, in fact, of cooldown, and to be able to have a look at the timings and the live timings, but of course be updated as we head through the session, and then we will see what everyone else is able to do. Pascal Gill has managed to extract a lot of time in this sector, and well, he's managed to find about 2.5 tenths of a second in the second sector alone. So around the final corner, he'll be hoping to maybe slot himself in to the top 4. That'll be very, very, very well done from the OMB driver to pick himself up. 1:14.512, so a bit of time lost in the final sector, and of course his teammate only just ahead now, only by 1/10 of a second, so that's very, very tight between them. It's going to be one of the Alpines. It's going to be Campbell Adams, the first driver, to set his next time, as we just ticked under 5 minutes left to go in this qualifying session, and we are getting to the end of what will be the first qualifying session of the night. Of course, Lobby 1 has had RSC, and that's Campbell Adams invalidating, not improving on his time. That could be important, because then his banker is only a 1:14.171, and that's his only fullback lap to speak about. Daniel Koya is going to be improving by 0.07 of a second. So at the moment, as it's projected, he'll be going ahead of Campbell Adams, but he has to hook up this final sector correctly, and we will see where he's able to find himself. He's going to fire himself into the pit lane as Daniel Koya, not improving. Tyres Korsman will have the pit lane to go into as well. So it appears that this is going to be it for these runs, and then everybody's going to come back in. Nobody really improving enough. Wojtek Steg, in fact, invalidated Christoph. Is he going to be setting a lap? You can't really see, because, of course, I haven't got my telemetry up in front of me, and he did pass Sector 2 before we were able to cut over to him, but Christoph then will be coming around the final corner, will be setting a time with 3 minutes 55 on the session. That's going to be risky, because he's got to fly his way back round, dive into the pit lane, and dive back out again, but a 1:14.310, you can kind of see why, because he's getting closer to Wojtek Steg, and Thomas Engerson racing a team that we'd expect to qualify to this race, to this season. That is exactly the sort of times you want to be seeing from Christoph. A bit more improvement, though, to be had. I don't know if you can hear my chair there. I've got a new mic, so I can't quite understand what it can hear and what it can't hear. My old mic wouldn't have heard it. This mic might well do, but as we just tick over to 2002 or 2102 if you're in Central Europe, or I'm not going to do any of the maths for any of the others, because that's easy enough. Christoph will be coming into the pits and will be starting himself out on a final run. I believe we've got one of the Alpines coming out of the pit lane now. That'll be Campbell Adams, who'll be the first one onto his out lap, and for the final time in this session, it will be go, go, go out of the pit lane, and see what you can do. See what sort of times you can set. If you get a 13, that will qualify. Fact. Is the stream fine? Does the stream look absolutely terrible on my end? Yeah. Okay. Because on my end, it's really bitty. And it was just like, you know, TV static. That's what it looked like for me. But I've just reloaded. I've got like 7 minutes of ads before I go back to it, but it looks fine. In the little preview thing that I had, Campbell Adams will be the first one onto a lap. Wojtek Steg will follow him, and then Tyres Korsman, then one of the other one of the Aston Martin, so Daniel Koya. ONB taking their time here. Are they? They're going to run out of time. ONB are going to run out of time here. That's the first time that we're seeing one out of the pit lane. Pascal Gill is coming. Christoph has gone. He will not be improving on his 1:14.310. Could that spell the end for an EB Esports in this race session, or in this qualifying session? Because I don't think Pascal Gill is going to be able to make it round with enough time. I think they've just about missed out, but we will see. Campbell Adams heading through the final corner. He'll definitely get a time on the board if it's valid, but yeah, we'll see, of course, what these drivers will do. I think ONB are one of the favourites to go out here today, because, of course, we only have 11 teams. We only have 11 teams in these qualifiers. We'll have 10 teams in the in it itself, and so it's going to be very, very interesting to see what they are going to be doing. interesting run plan indeed. But yeah, we will see what we're going to do. But yeah, we'll see. Campbell Adams heading through, has gone through the first sector. Will go into the second sector. 34 seconds for Campbell Adams. And he's making his way through. How many teams are qualifying? It's certainly not 12. 12 teams are not qualifying from the qualifiers, because only 10 teams can be in a session. So 10 teams will go through. Of course, I believe we had a pull-out. So we have 3 in the first session, 4 in the second, 4 in the third. And it could potentially be ONB knocked out. It could potentially be UFRT, I think, that would be out. And 9 teams go through. Because AMR, while the previous champions, Campbell Adams, the first 1:13 lap time on the board with a 1:13.889 for himself. The next driver is rather far back. It'll be Wojtek Steg. And he will be coming in and trying to improve. He was improving by 0.05 of a second. But yes, it is indeed 9 go through, because AMR have already made their way through. 2 teams will be out. And I think ONB have put themselves in a place where they will be a favourite, unless Pascal Gill can pull a really good lap time out of this final one. And I wouldn't be surprised if he does. I wouldn't be surprised if he improves at the very least. But any more, we shall see. Wojtek Steg up to the line and gets a 14.152. That's good. Daniel Koya, can he go better? And he's up to the line. Into third place. Skuloin, to answer your question, no, because one team pulled out. So we've only got 11 teams in the qualifiers. We've got 3 now, 4 after, and then 4 after that. Don't know who pulled out, but we'll see. Pascal Gill, 14.261. Not too bad. Not too bad of a time. Right at the very end of the session, all things considered. And ONB, with that lap from Pascal Gill, could just have thrown themselves a little bit closer to contention. Campbell Adams and Tyus Korsman qualify RSC. That is confirmed, unless they get any penalties. Daniel Koya and Wojtek Steg take Thomas Enger Sim Racing to a good potential opportunity. And then ONB, 14.261, and Christoph with a 14.310. Imagine where they would be if Christoph had been able to set a final lap at his home track, but unfortunately not. That will be the end of our first qualifying session. RSC at the top and officially qualified for this session, for this season, not this session. That'll be our first team race speed championship. Of course, there could potentially be stewards reports. There could potentially be anything like that. I'm not going to cast aspersions. I'm just going to go off what I've seen. And from what I've seen, it'll be them qualifying from today. We will have a little bit of a break, 7 odd minutes before we can get our next one underway. And we can see the 4 teams of, the 4 teams of, here we go, Venturi Esports, IRT, FST, and ET8 taking to the circuit. I said that lobby was pretty strong. I think that one might just be a little bit stronger. But you'll have to wait and see. Stick around. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We have lobby number 2 ready to get underway, and well, I was going to bring up the qualifiers so far, but I haven't quite had the opportunity to be able to crop that one just yet. So I'll be bringing that one later on. But what you do need to know is the team at the top at the moment is RSC, who have got an average of a 73.94, so that'll be a 1 minute 14.94. Then second place, Thomas Enger Sim Racing, 74, so 1 minute 14.1425. And then third place, Anibi Esports, 74.28. So not too bad. It's a low 14, which is the expected lap time so far. And, well, we will see, of course, what the drivers are going to be able to do across the course of this session. And it'll be the second session of the day. And, well, I've just realised that my camera's still on. You don't want to see that. What you want to see is the racing action. You want to see the lobby. And there we go. There's the lobby. And there is some of the drivers. So, we have Daniel Hope, Fabi, D'Amico, Marcel Paps, Marios Iannuau. Hang on. I think it's just Wanu. Then Ken Fisher, Silly Sly Guy, and Francesc Jajurny. And to answer your question, why is Tesguy in lobby 2? They're not. What are you talking about? Well, unless you're talking about me. No, I'm joking. I'm not going to be biased tonight. Yeah, we've got the FST drivers who will be the first ones out on the circuit, D'Amico and Silly Sly Guy. And we shall see where they're going to stack up after the first lap. So, for reference, after the first laps, before, I believe it was a 14-1 set by Bias Korsman. That was it. And oh, you are talking about me as being biased. Wonderful. Well, of course, I'm going to be very biased. Anyway, yeah, we're going to have D'Amico around the final couple of corners, and then he will be starting his lap in the FST car, and this should be very, very good. Of course, I said this is probably the strongest lobby that we have because ONB didn't quite look so good, and then at the end of the session, one good lap was thrown in, and that's exactly what we got indeed. D'Amico heading down to the first corner. It'll be a 14-1, which is probably going to be a good lap time to throw in, and then I mean, that would be a very good lap time to throw in. That would basically qualify you if your teammate can get anywhere near the 14.3s. Because, of course, at the moment, as it stands, the benchmark time will be a 14.2 to be able to make your way through with 2 teams not qualifying, AMR also qualifying, and then we have 9 teams ready to go for our race season, which means that we've only got 2 that won't qualify. I don't think it'll be any of these from this race session, and if you'd have asked me 2 months ago, I'd have said FST 100%. But the improvement that the team has had, as D'Amico invalidates, the improvement that the team has had is absolutely sensational. And, well, they should be very, very proud of themselves. Of course, one of the owners of the league is now, one of the owners of the SKG Extreme Series is now one of the owners of FST, or one of the managers of FST as well. So it'll be good. It's always nice to see somebody get an opportunity like that. And FST, surprised it didn't auto-qualify, but SKG didn't auto-qualify, and it's the SKG Racing Series. So, Silly Sly Guy, up to the line, 14.406. Not too bad of a banker to kick us off for the race session. Next one, Marcel Pabst, 14.164. He will go up to the top of the times. Franek Jajurny around the final corner as Marios is going to go up into second place. Franek Jajurny goes up into third, 14.2s. Quick times will make Thomas Enger Sim Racing just that little bit more nervous. Ken Fisher into the pit lane, won't be improving. Fabi will be coming around the final corner and will be finishing his lap in the McLaren. Where is he going to end up going? It'll be 1 minute 14.608 for himself. Daniel Hope, invalidated, will not be finishing his lap, unfortunately, for the BNT man. But as we kick off the session, this is looking good for a very, very, very quick session. Of course, we've got Franek Jajurny, Marios Iannuau, and Marcel Pabst up to the top of the times and basically qualifying ET8 as it stands. In fact, I think it might have even already qualified ET8 through to the next one. So that is sensational from them to be able to qualify with bankers of 14.1s. Actually, not quite qualified. Not quite, because Thomas Enger Sim Racing sets a 74.133 and a 74.152 at the end. So Marios finds a 10th, they've qualified. Marcel Pabst finds 500s, they're close. But Thomas Angus Sim Racing will be a little bit nervous at the fact that ET8 can pull that out on their bankers. Daniel Hope invalidated in the VNT car, but he'll be hoping to improve and get up to where Franek Journey is. And, well, Silly Sly Guy and Zamaiko will be hoping to get laps on the board. IRT, Fabi and Ken Fisher not looking great so far. Daniel should hope he finishes a lap. Good one. Really good one. Sorry, it was quite good. I will give you your flowers. I was being funny, and then I realised that actually sounded like I was being serious. And no, I think it was actually rather amusing. All good, no worries. Ken Fisher out onto the circuit. And, well, it's good to see 4 cars in this one, or 4 teams even, 4 different cars, rather than 3 in the last one. It just felt too little with only 6 cars out there. 8 feels a little bit better, and we'll see what they're going to be capable of. All of these drivers are very capable, and Ken Fisher racing for IRT. I never quite know what to think about IRT. Sometimes they can perform a bit like an ONB, so they can be a bit of an underdog. Sometimes they can be right in the mid-pack. I don't think I've ever seen IRT really, really, really all the way up there and contending for anything, but they've always been in the mix, and I think that's what they're going to be hoping to do today. But I have them as one of my favourites to be in the bottom bubble, completely being unbiased, of course. I think that, and this is just my genuine thoughts on who's going to qualify, who's not, etc., 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 from this session. I really, truly think that it could be, because of course 2 teams go out. I think it's going to be difficult to see the 261 being any good, the 14.261. Despite that being the quickest time from an EB, I don't think that's going to be good enough, because it was a 0.3 that's set by the other teammate. So I think they're going to be on the bubble. I think UFRT are going to struggle in Lobby 3, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. But, of course, we will see how they all stack up. And I could be completely wrong with who's going to be any good, etc., etc. I think FCT as well might be struggling, and I think the last one would be IRT that I would have in that bottom little bubble. So IRT, UFRT, and FCT, I think, will be teams right down at the very bottom, depending on who BRC bring as well. I'm just going to have a look at who they have. So UFRT have Racing Fox and Pesci. FCT have Noah, to be fair. Noah, hang on, I'm gonna give it a go at his name later, but it's a difficult one. But BRC have brought Tom Roberts and Cameron Dowds. Okay, so likely they will be all right for this session at least. And then it's just about trying to find drivers for the season, because that's what BRC have struggled with. It's typically their depth. IRT Ken Fisher is not going to be pushing on this lap, but Demico will be, and he'll be heading through the first sector, as will, I believe that's Daniel Hope. No, Daniel Hope's invalidated after setting a 26.653, which will be 2 thousandths quicker, or 200ths even quicker than Demico in the first sector. And the FST man hoping to get his first lap time on the board. Silly Sly Guy, his teammate, has a 14.406 at this moment, and Demico will be hoping to try and find his way up there, heading through the sling of the second sector, I would say that is, because you go out, then you go back in. You could just go straight on, but of course that's not how this infrastructure works. Demico potentially getting a bit held up there, hitting the back of Daniel Hope, and that could be unfortunate. He's going to finish the lap anyway, and it is going to be allegedly purple in the second, so Demico could be on for a good lap here. It could have been better, though, if there wasn't the contact, and in fact he backs out and dives into the pit lane. That will be harsh, but that will be something that the stewards are going to have to look at with regards to VNT. Contact between Daniel Hope and Demico, and it might be at a bit of slipstream as well. So VNT not in the stewards' good books at the moment, as Franek Journey is actually on an in lap, so that's absolutely fine. But he did not improve after that first lap time. He was down just a little bit. Silly Sly Guy improved, and Marios Wanu goes even faster. First place with a 14.126, and this is what I was talking about with the minimal improvements. I think they're fine. Fabi's found a 10th.5 in the first 2 sectors, as that's Ken Fisher with a 14.456. Fabi up to the line with 1 minute 14.603. Lost a bit of time in that final sector, but there is potential in that lap. Yeah. Very, very interesting indeed, and I'm sure that FST aren't very happy with that one. The contact between Daniel Hope and their driver, they're going to be hoping to be all right. with it after all that. But, of course, I'm not a steward. I'm not going to comment on anything that the stewards will be doing. All I will say is they will have a look at it. Yeah. That's going to be the end of the second runs. And it'll be Marios Wano and Marcel Paps basically guaranteeing ET8 qualified. And that's pretty good. I also think as well this session, just because of the way it's gone, has seen Thomas Enger Sim Racing qualified. And, well, it allows the opportunity for Onibi Esports team to maybe have a bit of hope that IRT are going to be a bit slower. Ken Fisher with a 1:14.4, Fabi with a 1:14.6. Remember, only 2 teams will drop out of this session. At the moment, on the bubble will be IRT and will be Onibi as well, although Daniel Hope and Demaiko need to get a lap time on the board, and Demaiko is out on the circuit. He looks like he's going to do exactly what the Onibi driver of, was it Pascal Gill, who came out of sync with everybody else? I think it was in the last session. He's going to be hoping to do the same thing, but actually get to the end and actually get a lap time on the board, unlike what was done earlier on by the other OMB driver, who was not able to set something in the final part of the session. Demaiko heading through the final few corners. He will get his lap underway very shortly, and FST need him to find a time. He's not got one in the first 8 or so minutes of this qualifying session. This is where the pressure really ramps up, because if they don't get a time at all, that could be devastating. Yes, they could be knocked out with a slow lap time, but it's all about making sure that they have that lap time on the board to begin with. Demaiko heading down to the first braking zone of turn number 1. He's going to try and just clip the curbing a little bit, and then out on the exit he's going to put the power down. This is probably the most crucial lap of the session so far, and it's FST Demaiko taking himself onto it. Daniel Hope has the same thing. He's only just come out of the pit lane, so he is going to be contending with that in a minute. Demaiko, end of the first sector, 26.679. Not the greatest one in the world of those 6, 7, 9. Best combination of numbers because of the 6, and then the suffix could be either one you want. But Demaiko, not with the greatest first sector time, but I think this is going to be less about the speed and more about getting a lap time on the board. And I think that's exactly what he's trying to do. So it's not going to be necessarily the fastest lap. It might be more a 0.6 or a 0.5, but it certainly gives them a fighting chance if he isn't able to set a lap time in the final part of the session. Throwing the car into the third sector, he set a 52 in the first 2, and around the final 2 corners he will come. Demaiko hoping that his lap time will be maybe into the 0.4s, so he's got a platform to work off of, and his teammate doesn't have all the pressure on himself either. Silly Sligo with a 14.2, Demaiko with a 14.3. That is a best case scenario for the FST team, and they're going to be incredibly happy with that one, as Marcel Paps 14.009, and just rubbing it in, they're qualified. Franek Jajurni, if I can speak, is in the final sector ready to start his lap, but it'll be, I believe, Daniel Hope, the next driver, to be setting a lap time, unless Silly Sly Guy is that one. Indeed he is, and Silly Sly Guy is on a push lap, and he's improved by 0.014. Now, if they get 0.1s, they may well qualify pretty much straight away. That seems to be the target for all of these teams, and Silly Sly Guy heading through the second sector. We get a better marker after they finish the first lap, of course, because I haven't got my data on me. I cannot quite reference it, but Silly Sly Guy is improving by 0.032 of a second as he heads into the final sector. That will dip him into the 1 minute 14.9s, or 1 minute 13.9s even. Nope, 1 minute 14.1s is what I meant to say, third time lucky, and that will be the target time for Silly Sly Guy at this point in time. Around the final corner, power down, FST looking in a very good place, and it might just get a little bit better, 14.163 for the FST man, and he puts himself into third place. Franek Jajurni not improving in the first 2 sectors, so I wouldn't be surprised if he is not improving at all. Marcel Paps, Marius Wanu, and that will be Demaiko as well, all into the pit lane ready for one final time. Daniel Hope, no lap on the board. Franek Jajurni hoping to carry the flag for VNC, and this could be, if Hope doesn't get a lap time on the board, this could be devastating for a team that I expected to qualify relatively easily, all things considered. Daniel Hope needs a time on the board. Franek Jajurni, 104, 114 even, 0.106. And so he's giving his team a fighting chance. It's just whether Daniel Hope can set that time. And all eyes will turn to him. All eyes will turn to IRT as well to see what they can do in the final part of this session. I am here indeed. I was just checking all the information to see if there was anything about any of the incidents just yet. There is not anything about any of the incidents. But yeah, it is what it is. Enjoying the game? Yes, of course, because it's a wonderful game and I love it to bits. We will have Ken Fisher around the final corner to start his lap. But a crucial one for IRT, and with 2 minutes 22 on the board, we will see what is going to happen for these drivers. They need 0.4 of a second. Fisher is not going to go on this lap. He's going to go once again. Is Fabi going to do the same thing? I think he may well be actually pushing on this lap. I can't quite tell as he heads into the first corner. We're going to ride on board. No, he's certainly not pushing. He is not pushing at all. And it can really, really make sure that, in fact, you can just control how much fuel you have left in the car, because there's a minimum amount of fuel you're allowed to put in the car. I believe it's 2.3 laps worth. You can burn it on your out lap, and then on your this lap that they're doing now, it's another lap. It's just a slow one, just to get the gears working, as it were, and then they'll be able to set an actual lap itself at the end with less fuel than possible. Or less fuel than possible to put in the car, least fuel that you can possibly get in the car. And they will, again, even though they've been out for that out lap already, they're going to be the first drivers onto the final lap of this session. Daniel Hope just exits the pit lane, or Franek Journey potentially was that man in the Ferrari car, and we shall see. Daniel Hope here needs a lap time on the board. IRT need lap times on the board. If Dan Hope doesn't get a time, if IRT don't improve, then it's going to be VNT and IRT that are going to be struggling. I'm not actually sure what the lap time is. I'm not recalling it off the top of my head. What the lap time is that he'll be given if he doesn't set a time on the board. But whatever happens, he'll be right down the very bottom. If I see one more Hope joke in the chat, I'm going to get rid of the chat so nobody gets answers to their actual questions. Fabi heading through the first sector and will be following in the footsteps of his teammate Ken Fisher, who will come to the end of the first sector. Daniel Hope, lap time on the board, and it's a good one, a 14.016. Phew. VNT will be thinking. Ken Fisher, though, has potentially just seen IRT out of this session. He has just invalidated on his final push lap, so his best time will be a 14.416. Fabi heading through the second sector needs an absolute stormer of a lap, and I don't think he's got it in him. He will need a 14.6 at least if he wants to give his team a fighting chance. He's found a 10th and a little bit after the first two sectors, and he has one more sector to go for IRT Fabi at the end of this session. The checkered flag has waved, and the IRT driver will come through the final few corners. His teammate will not be contributing anymore. This could be the end of IRT in this session, and Fabi with a 14.320, I think that might be it. D'Amico up to the line. He will be the next one to finish his lap here. At the moment, he's got a 14.163. He will improve, and it will be up to a lap time of 14.074. Marius Wanu goes even quicker. Daniel Hope not improving. Marcel Paps going to get a 13.916. So two ET8 drivers split by just 0.02 of a second. Franek Journey will be the last driver on this circuit to set a time, and he will be setting a time that looks like it might be better than his teammates. So Daniel Hope at the very end of the session has managed to set a skin saver to keep VNT in it. Franek Journey, final corner for himself, and it's going to be up to the line to make sure VNT qualify. A 1:14.007 means VNT end up in the point zeros, and well, they pretty much guarantee qualify themselves. They actually do, in fact, guarantee qualify themselves. ET8 are safe. VNT are safe. RSC are safe. FST are safe as well. That is your top 4. And then Thomas Enger Sim Racing are 5th and will also be safe. Anibi Esports Team and IRT right on the bubble as we head to number 3. Lobby number 3, that is. And we will be back with you, well, when that, of course, happens. But it's going to be interesting. 4 teams. I think UFRT, at least, will be on the bubble. They'll be very close to being knocked out. Interesting to see what happens with the Daniel Hope incident with Damaiko. Maybe nothing will happen because it was the penultimate lap of the session rather than the third to last lap of the session. It was the second lap of the session. But who knows? Certainly not me. And I won't find out anytime soon. But make sure to keep your eye out on all of the social medias as well for SKG. But we'll be right back with our 4th lobby, which will be consisting of our 4 teams. Racing in it will be Tatum Racertech, Forza Club Touring F1, Bravo Racing Club, and the Ultimate Formula Racing Team. Don't go away. Lobby 3 time. We've had a couple of interesting bits of news that we've discovered. So we will not be seeing BRC in this session, but we will be seeing BRC later on. I believe we're going to have a session with just BRC. So that will be certainly a very, very interesting one to contest with later on, because, well, we are going to have a complete new rerun with just one team. But without further ado, we're going to take you trackside. We're going to go down to this race session, or to this qualifying session even, and we're going to watch it with Florian Fanzelter. Now, we've got 3 teams in this. Of course, as I say, BRC are not going to take part, and will be taking part, I believe, in a separate lobby later on. Yet to be decided, I believe that's what's going to happen. We've got FCT, we've got TRT, we've got UFRT all in this session. Pesci took a while to get in to the session, which is why there was a little bit of a delay. And then, of course, the thing with BRC, Cameron Dowd's unfortunately unavailable to race this evening all of a sudden. And, well, we are going to be seeing what will happen. By the way, just had a check of the rulebook. And the rulebook states that if Daniel Hope is reported and is found guilty of impeding, as Florian Fanzelter lets the 2 V-carbs through. If Florian Fanzelter is not, if Daniel Hope is found of impeding, and it goes through the stewarding process, and it comes out that he actually was impeding and he's guilty, then it's not going to be any effect on his qualifying session. Interesting. Instead, what it means is that they will have a qualifying ban if they qualify for the league, for the esports racing series. So what that means is they're going to go basically unpunished for tonight, apart from, of course, round number 1. If they didn't qualify, then they would just not be penalised, which is, I think, is an interesting decision. But yeah, we'll see. Kimi Dikunda and Pesci, the first 2 drivers, racing after all, because Florian Panzelter did take the lead, decided he didn't want it. Kimi Dikunda getting a 26 by 8.52. In fact, I think this might be, because I've never commentated on Kimi Dikunda before, I think this might be up there with one of the best names I've had. Honestly, it's him, and it's Franciszek Szczerny, or as he was just tonight, Franek Szczerny. Racing for, of course, what was it again? It was VNT, right? Yeah. Franek Szczerny for VNT. They are the best 2 names that I've had, in my opinion, at least. Franciszek Szczerny and Kimi Dikunda. But hey, we'll see. I believe VNT has already been reported. They have Pesci with a 1:14.8 and Kimi Dikunda with a 1:14.9. So bankers are slower than expected. Zalan Bieda with a 14.693 though, and Hungary going in with a 14.364. As I say, I'm expecting Starks and Ace up to the top, 14.207. So a good start to the FCT session. And well, it is clear at this point in time what is going to happen, or more clear, in fact, than it would be before. And it is this. Drivers are going to be knowing what they're going to be doing with if I can get my words out, which I can't at the moment. They're going to be knowing what they're supposed to be doing. If it remains as it is in the order, and FCT are like, yeah, whatever, we've qualified already. And then TRT and UFRT will just be scrapping it out. I'm going to have a look at the maths now. I hope the maths is done for me, so I don't have to do it. I have to do it then. Hang on. But yeah, I believe you'd be right. Eruption, Mr. Marcel Paps. I believe you'd be right. I think FCT have already qualified, but I'm just going to have a look. So they set a 14.702 at the hands of Ducks and Ace. They set a 14.364, excuse me, at the hands of Hungary. So if I sort it by average, what have I done wrong? I haven't done anything wrong. It's taken it as 1,000 for something. Anyway, so they will be... Yeah, they've qualified. No, they haven't. They've got an identical average to an EB Esports team at the moment. So if they find literally any improvement by 1,000th of a second, for example, they could be through. But yeah, we will see. They are not officially through, but they are unofficially in a very good place to be through. Because of course, an EB Esports team, the team on the bubble at the moment, are going to be with exactly the same average because FCT, I'll let you do the maths if you'd like. FCT with a 74.207 and a 74.364 have set in total a time of a 148.571. An EB Esports team have set a 74.261 and a 74.310, which will average out to be a 141.571. So they literally need to find 1,000, but we cannot confirm who is through and who is out. What we can confirm is that Thomas Enger Sim Racing, FST Esports, Ventura Esports, Race Speed Championship Esports, and ETA Esports are through to SKG Racing Series. Those are the teams that are through so far, and it's just Anibi, IRT, and then the 4 teams in this lobby that are hoping to solidify themselves in the next session. So you don't even need the lap times that I was expecting you to need. I thought the second lobby was going to be a bit quicker than they were. I'll be real. They were quick, but it was IRT in particular that I feel as though let me down. Thomas Enger Sim Racing, I think, could have gone a little bit quicker as well. I think Anibi potentially were maybe a 10th off what we would have expected overall, so about 500ths for each team. International Racing Team as well, IRT, they were a lot off what they could have expected. And that's what I was talking about earlier with the way that IRT can be very on the boil or very off the boil. There's not really any in between. Scoring fans Delta 52695 in the first 2 sectors and hopes to try and qualify TRT at this point in time. Zalan Bieda also has just started on a lap. We'll see who and when they qualify. Van Zelter then final corner for the Alpine and the Tatum Race Tech driver for his first run. Of course, doesn't have a lap time on the board so far. That will change here with a 14.073. Good lap. Good lap. And if his teammate Zalan Bieda can find any time, then that will be absolutely perfect. They'll be able to qualify with no problems at all. It'll be in the first sector an improvement for Zalan Bieda, and he will continue on with this lap. Of course, it should be an improvement because the lap time that he's got so far, not great, all things considered, with a 14.693. But he's invalidated, so Zalan Bieda will not be improving. Pesci and Kimmikunda need to find time on their laps. And Pesci is currently on a 14.834. These two need a lot of time to be able to pick up, to be able to make their way through, and to really start to pressure FCT and TRT as well. And Pesci's found a 10th and some change in the first 2 sectors, and will throw his car through the final few corners, through the final sector, and he'll try and find his way up to the front of the timesheets. I'm not sure whether he'll be up the top of the front, top of the timesheets, but he'll be very close as, well, in fact, Tatum Reztek are about 2/10 off FCT and Onibi on the bubble. Pesci, 14.718 for himself. Kimmikunda not improving, so he's going to come into the pit lane once again. Hungary is in the final sector as well, and he's going to try and improve on his 14.364. If he finds 1,000th, FCT have qualified, and that would be a very good performance straight away. I was not expecting them to be so close. There they go. They're through. FCT find themselves in the SKG Racing Series, and they are going to be over the moon with that one. The French outfit very, very happy with their performances, and they officially are through. Of course, make sure to keep an eye out for the final standings as Ducks and Ace goes up even quicker and will be the quickest of all so far with a lap time of 1:14.018. The quickest of all time in this session at the very least. But I believe there is a couple of people potentially slipstreaming is what it sounds like. But yeah, allegedly FCT is slipstreaming. I don't know, but of course that's not my job to have a look at that with the stewards in the stewards room. We've got one person who's particularly keen on being a steward, please stand up. Simon Milevsky. But yeah, irrespective of that, we have 8 minutes left in this session, and we might well be on for another team being knocked out from this session. Zalambida needs a lap, or he needs Florian Fanzelter to improve upon his Ducks and Ace coming into the pit lane. He's in the final sector. He will jump in a moment. Florian Fanzelter in the first sector. He's in behind the V-Cup of Kimi Dikanda, and it'll be Zalan Bieda who will be the next driver to be onto a lap. The number 95 Alpine will be really having a look at the times. He needs to find about 0.2 of a second, or he and Florian Fanzelter together need to find about 0.2 of a second, because at the moment the bubble is going to be a 1:48.751, and at the moment Tatum Reztech have a 1:48.766. They need to find almost exactly 0.2. It's 0.195 that they're going to, 196 even if they want to qualify, that they want to be able to find, and it'll be all in Zalambida's lap. I think Florian Fanzelter has got enough time in him, and well, at the moment he has the lap time. That will be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th fastest. So Darks and Ace has the 6th fastest. In fact, no, the 7th fastest. I can't count. Darks and Ace has the 7th fastest lap in this session so far this evening. Florian Fanzelter has the 8th. Nope, the 9th. Yeah, because he's 1,000th ahead of the second of the FST cars. Zalan needs to find time, needs to find it now. But if he does find it, he can basically qualify his team. It's all on the shoulders of the Hungarian at his home circuit as he heads through the S section, the little bit of an S section. Don't know if we can call it that. I call it the flip, because it kind of just flips out and then back in. It could be a straight, as I mentioned earlier on, but it's not. And Bida has found 0.5 of a second. So the Alpine really, really in a good position here to qualify TRT and send them through to the SKG Racing Series. We've already got the majority of the grid made up. We have UFRT, Anibi, IRT, and, well, at the moment, it will be TRT on the bubble, but not for much longer. Zalambida with a 1:14.095. And they're safe. The Alpine outfit find themselves safe. Florian Fanzelter hoping to get ahead of Ducks and Ace as well and back up into that first position, because it's now all about pride for TRT and FCT as well. They're both on outlaps. Kimi Dikanda finds his way up to a 1:14.617. Pesci just a 10th off that. Fanzelter, the first driver in this group of drivers, up to the 1:13 to 13.977. And so he will be very, very happy with that lap, I would imagine. I'm just doing the maths on my phone right now in my hands while I'm talking, which I think is quite impressive. So you should all be really impressed with me that I'm able to do this. But yeah, we've got at the moment Tatum Reztech's total, or their average we'll go with, is a 1:14.0036. FCT, did I put in FCT's improvements? No, I didn't. Of course, there was no improvement from Hungary. I believe he might be on a lap now. Indeed, he is. But FCT's improvement came in the form of an improvement and a lap time for Ducks and Nace, which put them just behind. So they've got a 74.159, so a 1:14.1. Which is the average that they've got on their lap. That puts them just behind Thomas Enger Sim Racing, which I think FCT will take at this point in time, to be fair. Ducks and Ace with a very good time. Hungary will be improving as well. He's found a 10th in the first 2 sectors, and he'll be hoping to jump his way up to the top of the timings. But yeah, we'll see where he ends up going. But they will be happy to be challenging with Thomas Enger Sim Racing, I believe, at this point in time. Of course, we'll be seeing BRC later. Hungary into the pit lane, not happy with the lap. 4 minutes left in the session. We're going to go again, ladies and gentlemen, and all eyes will turn to the Ultimate Formula Racing team and see where they go through. I said they were one of the favourites to be down at the bottom, and at the moment they proved me very right. They are the slowest team of all. IRT have got a 74.388. They are the second slowest at the moment. UFRT's average would be, I believe, a 1:14.667. Excuse the pun. I think that's the average that it would come out to be. Let me just do the maths. If I've got this, by the way, I'll be very impressed with myself, because maths isn't my forte. So 74.617 and a 74.718. So that will end up being a 74.667. Be proud of me. I know I said 6.7. It's very exciting. But yeah, I did. I'm quite impressed with myself, all things considered, that I've been able to do that. But yeah, that'll be the drivers through, and UFRT need to find, of course, because they've got that lap time at the moment, which is not good enough to qualify. They need to find 3/10. They want any chance, and that's 3/10 to be the team that's not in last. They need to find another 2/10 to be able, or at least a 10th, to be able to challenge with an EB Esports team for that position. But it's going to be very close, I think, between the drivers. We shall see where they end up in this qualifying session. Of course, at the moment, the team who has qualified with the quickest times has been so far ET8, who have got their 73.916 and their 73.918. So, of course, their average is 73.917. Second fastest team, even RSC, with the fastest time of all. And then Florian Fanzelter has now jumped his way up to 4th place in terms of the quickest lap times set. And Darks and Aces 8th, so pretty decent stuff, all things considered, for these drivers. And we will see, they will finish off their laps and they will finish off this session. Everybody is out on the circuit at the moment, and see what they can do. Was it sent to the F word in the comments? I was trying to have a look, but oh well. Zalan going to be across the line. He's going to start his lap. It's going to be Kimidikanda in the final sector. Say that three times fast. It's not difficult. It's fun. Kimidikanda, Kimidikanda, Kimidikanda. The UFRT driver. I hope they qualify, because then I can say his name. That'll be fun across the course of the campaign. But he's got one more lap to be able to jump his way up. But he needs to find a lot of time in this if he wants to give UFRT a fighting chance. If we average it out for Pesci and for Kimidikanda, they are currently 5/10 off of the second slowest team, I believe, if I'm doing my maths correctly. No, they're not. I'm doing my maths wrong. They are 4/10 off of the second quickest team. Nope, I'm lying again. They are 3/10 off. They're 4/10 off being safe. If they find those 4/10, as Kimidikanda does not improve in the first sector, if they find those 4/10, then they can start to challenge. IRT at the moment, slowest of all. And EB Esports will be second place with a 74.2855. And, well, third place at the moment is going to be FCT, but that doesn't matter. Of course, Hungary's lap time doesn't matter anyway, because he's not going to be knocked onto the bubble. There'll be 2 teams out. And Kimidikanda, well, he'll be exiting the second sector, hoping for an improvement, or at least 2/10. He's got a 10th, so there is time. And Pesci, there is definitely time in his lap as well. Kimi is going to come around the final few corners. We'll cut briefly to Pesci to see what he does in the first sector, and it is going to be a lap time for the first sector of a 26.694. Kimidikanda, as the checkered flag is waved, find 2/10 of a second. Pesci needs to find another 10th in this lap if he wants to be competitive. He wants to find another 2/10 if he wants to qualify. And EB Esports are going to be the team right on the bubble and very nervous at the moment. UFRT need 2/10 in this Pesci lap to be able to qualify, and he's found a 10th in the first 2 sectors. He needs to find another 10th. This needs to be the sector of his life if Pesci wants to be able to qualify UFRT to the SKG Racing Series. The final corner beckons, and he needs to really clip this curbing. He needs to really fly through it and extract as much time as he can. Pesci up to the line, and he's found a 10th and 700ths of a second. That will not be enough. That will be UFRT out of qualifying, and that will be a huge, huge shame for the team, as there was definitely time in those laps, and well, they're not going to be able to extract it now, and that will be it for themselves. They will get a total of a 74, just inside a 74.5. They've got a 74.495, so they'll be about a 10th off of the international racing team in the end. Kimidikanda ending up with a 114.422, so not a terrible lap time. But that'll be the end of lobby number 3, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know what's going to happen for lobby number 4. We will find out. Don't go away. We're going to have one more session here today. Got one more session. Going to be a bit of a funny one. Now, we've got the BLC drivers, as I said earlier. We've also... I don't understand. Well, I do... Officially, I do understand it. Unofficially, I don't know why I would have done it. We have George Ansell and Tom Roberts. George Ansell very, very graciously jumping in at the last minute with probably no practice to replace Cameron Dowds, who cannot make today. And then D'Amico, who is here, who wanted to set a better time, even though FST have already qualified. So, yeah. Anyway, they've decided they wanted to do it, of course, with the fact that he got impeded by Daniel Hope on his second run in his lobby, and you can see him going out there now. He is going for one lap only, and then he's going to retire from the session. And then we have, after that, we're going to have the two BRC drivers who, of course, are going to do the racing all by themselves. Thank you very much to everybody for sticking with us this evening, by the way, because I know it's been a long one. It's been an hour and 47 minutes because of the issues we had at the start and the issues that, of course, BRC had, and we are going to now finish off for ourselves. But yeah, we're going to go. He's going to do an outlet and then pit. Okay, well... What? Who? D'Amico? Yeah, okay, yeah, so he is going to do an outlap, then pit, and then he's going to come out again and actually do a lap itself. So, yes, that is what he's going to do. George Ansell, no practice. How's he going to go? It's first sector for himself, and he's just going to head into the first corner for the Red Bull driver. And, well, he's just going to see what he can do. Of course, no practice on the board. But also, he knows what is expected of him. He knows exactly what he needs to do in order to make his way through to this session itself. At the moment, the time on the bubble will be, if I've done all of my maths correctly, the time on the bubble will be the International Racing Team with a 74.388. They need to beat a 1 minute 14.3 in order to qualify, and of course they're going to want to do a little bit better than that, though. I think they're going to have this in the bag. I think Tom Roberts is warmed up enough. He said he did 3 practice sessions in the lead up to this one. I think he might have even been able to get a 4th one in as we waited to see what their fate would be. But George Ansell now is going to come up to the line. It'll be a 1 minute 14.588. Tom Roberts back into the pit lane. He wasn't happy with his lap time. He's going to go once again. And yeah, we shall see what we are. We're going to see what they're going to be capable of. Of course, that 5.88 is going to be the slowest lap time of everybody, but it is a first lap time, which nobody really has any problems with at all, because of course later on is what's going to happen. Now, D'Amico's coming out of the pit lane. He's going to try and improve on what he had so far, which I had down as a 0.0, I believe. I mean, he's got the 10th fastest time in the session of it. Anyway, FST are going to just see D'Amico on a glory run, on a glory lap, on a parade lap for a good performance for himself. He'll be happy with the way that he raced, or he did at least. And yeah, we shall see where he's going to end up at the end of this one, and we'll see where the Red Bulls are as well. Red Bull obviously being BLC. And the Williams being FST. Tom Roberts is back out of the pits. He's going to want to go again. Now, this is something that I was thinking about when I knew that we were going to do one lobby that was just for BLC. I don't know, in all honesty, I don't know what I would do if I was in their seats. He's going to do one lap. And if he sets a lap time that's good enough to qualify them, will they go again? Now, of course, George Ansell has done a lap. He set a 5:88, which is, of course, the slowest lap time of all so far if he did decide to retire. But if Tom Roberts comes through, for example, now and sets a, let's say, a 13:9, which would qualify. Would that qualify them? A low 13:9. I'll test it. I'll put that into algorithm and we'll see what pops at other end. As George Ansell is going to go on another lap, of course. So a 13:9 would give him. Oh, they're not. The algorithm's not happy about that one for some reason. Not sure why. Oh, it's because is it because I put a full stop instead of a comma? Doing all sorts of mistakes. 74,588, and then it's rounded it up. That's really not helpful because I want it to be a 74,588. Then if he sets a 73.9, it's not going to let me do it. Why? Anyway, I have to do it the old-fashioned way, which is for a calculator. Demaiko, with his lap time, his glory run will be a 14,545. That was worth it, wasn't it? Yeah, so he'd get a 148.488. Would be quicker than UFRT. Wouldn't be quick enough to qualify. So we'll see. Of course, George Ansell is going for another lap, so he will improve on his 5:88. But with all due respect, I don't think there's going to be much required in terms of improvements on that lap. Of course, he's not very sharp. He's only just jumped on the game to do this qualifying session. He's going to jump back off. Tom Roberts, 14.5 for himself. So he's going to be getting a 74.5 for himself. It still says value. That's really annoying. 50. That works. Why does that work? Anyway, Demaiko splits the two at the moment. Pretty much exactly. That's almost exactly the difference between the two. And if you were to take it down to the further decimals, the what would it be? Would it be 10,000s? Hang on. We got the tens, the hundreds, and the thousands. So it would surely be the millions, right? We're going to the millions. If Demaiko had to round his up, then he could be pretty much bang on in between them. Anyway, a 74.544 at the moment for BRC, which of course wouldn't see them qualify. George Ansell not improving the first two sectors, might need to find some time in the final one, and then BRC can make their way through. George Ansell at the moment with a 114.588, and he's not happy with the lap, and he's coming in and going to go again. Coming in, he's going to go again. There isn't really much to talk about, let's be real. With, of course, the drivers out on the circuit, we've, of course, got everything pretty much sorted. You know what I missed? You know what we didn't have in the end? Which was, for me, a little bit annoying. Because I would have liked to see... Of course, Hungary did his lap for FCT, and... well, he did it instead of Strees, so maybe what's happened is the FCT other driver has actually not raced under the name that he, of course, should race under, which is his real name. Now, I have never seen anybody try to pronounce it. So I'm going to spend the rest of this qualifying session trying to nail it and pretend that, as I've dropped my phone, pretend that I'm actually able to pronounce it. We've had a couple of fun names tonight. Here's another one. It'll be Noah. That's his first name. We're getting there. Razafim Andimbirabe. Razafim Andimbi. Razafim Andimbirabe. Razafim Andimbirabe. Razafim Andimbiare. Nope. Razafim Andimbiarabe. Nope. I don't know how this is supposed to be said. Razafim and Imbirabe. Razafim and Imbirabe. Can't do it, man. Razafim and Imbirabe. Razafim and Imbirabe. Razafim and Imbirabe. Nope. I'm doing my best. I know he's supposed to be Noah Raza. I know that's what it's supposed to be. This is better. This is more fun. As George Ansel's going to start on his lap. Noah Razafim and Imbirabe. Boom. Got it. Razafim and Imbirabe. There we go. Beautiful. But yeah, that's good. I got it in the end. I'm very proud of myself. Noah, why was Noah not representing? Because it was Darks and Ace who was in the car as George Anselin validates. That could be quite important in terms of this session, because that means he's not going to be improving on his 1:14.588. With one lap to go, that could be very important. Tom Roberts, coming to the end of the first sector, has not improved 0.05 of a second down. But back to the more important matters at hand. Do you, out of interest, this is to Lucas, this is a question to Lucas. Do you say the whole thing, like, would you say the whole thing in France? Or would you just say Noah Raza, which is, of course, the name that everyone's going to call him, and if he does race in the season, we will call him as Tom Roberts finds 4/10 in that second sector. But that's just what I'm wondering. Because of course I don't know, because I'm not French. I don't have that name. I believe he's Algerian origin. Nope, he's Benin origin. Up to the line comes Tom Roberts, 14.051. Takes his team closer to qualifying, but still not quite yet. Qualified 17.051 for himself, which will take his team's average to a 74.319. That'll put them ahead. Oh no, they have qualified. Right, that makes everything just that little bit more interesting. Because BRC are now officially qualified. They've gone ahead of UFRT, whose average was 74.495. They've gone ahead of IRT now, whose time average was 74.388. So congratulations, BRT or BRC. BRT is a throwback, man. BRC have qualified for the next season of the SKG Racing Series, and so the order is decided. We are going to be having ET8, RSC, Venturi, FST, Thomas Enger Sim Racing, Anibi Esports, Tatum ResTech, Forza Club Touring F1, and Bravo Racing Club. They will be the 9 teams that will be joining AMR in the next season of the SKG Racing Series. We will have, though, I think they're going to go for glory runs at the end, but George Ansel has done his best, and a 14.588, not a terrible lap time, all things considered. And, well, there we go. We have our teams decided. May as well retire, call it a day, as we just ticked over 2 hours of broadcast. May as well retire, call it a day, because they've qualified. Like, there's no going back on that one now. But, yeah, they've done it even before the end of... even before the end of the session, even before the last one. So, yeah, doing pretty well. Oh, it's Madagascar. It's not Benin. No, of course. Yeah. Because Benin's the same shape, but different parts. It's the green, it's the red. and then it's yellow rather than the white, but the white's the Madagascar one. So that's the difference between them. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, Madagascar's cool, man. The film's great. No, but I've always liked Madagascar. But to me, it's a really interesting country. Like, I just think there's about all like islands that are separated. So I think to an extent you could call the UK an interesting island, but I like Madagascar because it's just like escaping from Africa. Essentially, that's where it's going. The UK again, the same island, a bit more interesting than that, I believe. Is it Seychelles? It's going to be the tiny little island above Madagascar. I believe it would be. And then you've got like Cuba, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, all of those, Bermuda, that are off the edge of that are off the edge of the Americas, of course. So yeah, can you tell I've run out of things to talk about? You know what I should do? I should try and pronounce. Drop my phone. Noah's name again. No, I'm not going to do that. I can pronounce the people in here name. I can pronounce Demico. I can pronounce George Ansell. And I can pronounce Tom Roberts. Because I'm really cool. And I can pronounce things. Anyway, of course, by the way, once we've finished this lobby, you can go back, you can watch the replay as well of a Tier 3 race that was tonight, the SKG Tier 3 race. We, of course, also have Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 4. Tier 1 and Tier 2 are racing tomorrow, and Tier 1 is at 8 PM UK time, 9 PM Central Eastern time, or Central European time. What did I say? Central Eastern. Tier 2 is going to be at 5:30 Central Europe, no, English time, and then going to be Central European time. It'll be at 6:30, and then Tier 4 was yesterday. So make sure you can always check those out. What is your name, Lucas? Hang on. Because of course, in the chat, you're just Lucas MS. In the server as well, you're just Lucas MS. So, I don't know what it would actually be. Even on whatever this is, connect.gg. Oh, this is quite cool. This is rather cool. What is this website? Connect. Is this just like LinkedIn? But for gamers? That's what it looks like it is. That's cool. I'll check that one out later. George Ensel's improved by 10th, by the way. We're at the end of our session, and Tom Roberts and George will be completing their lap times. Well, of course, they've already qualified, but this is for glory. This is to see where they're going to stack up at the end. This is for the screenshot. Is it Mosh? Moz? I don't know. George Ensel's improved. He's got a 14.340, and he puts himself onto the front row of the field. There's only 3 drivers, so that's not hard. Would it be like Mouse? I think that was what it could be. Because that sounds like what it could be. Anyway, Tom Roberts, 14.051, and George Ansell, 14.340. Those two have both qualified. Right, okay. I'm going to try and pronounce that. Borkild Sederschild. 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 Unless the I's silent and it's just Borkild Sederschild. That's what I would say. I've never heard of anyone called Borkild before though. Anyway, we're back. Moes killed it. Hell yeah. Killed it in terms of bad or good. Anyway, and on that note, we're going to call it a day. Thank you very much for joining us this week. And just a reminder of your calendar. We have, of course, Hungary will be our qualifiers night, or was our qualifiers now, which is now completed. Qatar will be the first round of the season. Las Vegas will be the next. And it's Texas, Austria, Mexico, Belgium, China, Britain, Spain, Monza, Brazil, and Abu Dhabi to round out our season. Make sure to join us in Qatar next week. It'll be 8 p.m. UK time, 9 p.m. Central European time. But until then, goodbye.